How can we bring about a culture shift within educational systems to bring about purposeful and sustained data to use to inform evidence-based decisions?
A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but in education, information speaks volumes. Data analysis can provide a snapshot of what learners know, what they should know, and what can be done to meet their specific needs. With appropriate analysis and interpretation of data, educators can make informed decisions with evidence that can have a positive impact on anybody involved. The concept of evidence-based practice originated in medicine. In medical practice, a patient's health is diagnosed to find the most appropriate treatment. Teaching should be the same. Diagnosing where learners are in their learning is as essential to critical teaching as understanding a patient's symptoms for medicine. To establish where learners are in their learning journey involves the review of available historical evidence, for example, evidence from a previous teacher or evidence from assessments. The term evidence-based is now entrenched in the educational dictionary, and with good reason. Improvements in educational outcomes depend on the sustainable use of reliable evidence in classrooms. However, a lot of conversation of evidence-based teaching is needed, and the importance of evidence would benefit from a broader recognition of the role of evidence in teaching and learning.
Who owns educational big data, and why is this problematic?
Since the early days of modern computing, science fiction authors have been fantasizing about a database that could contain all the world's knowledge. This idea is now moving out of the scope of fantasy. Big data describes the large volume of data a few companies are engaged in collecting. The data belongs to different organizations, and each organization uses this data for different purposes. Facebook, for example, has mapped out the social connection amongst billions of people. It has become profitable to build a database containing the entire world's knowledge. However, just a few companies with the resources to collect the data and the tools to mine it own it. A public data infrastructure would require a large cluster of computers, and some entity would have to pay for this. This entity would be the owner. Searching for something on Google seems innocent enough. However, this provides online and offline companies with invaluable data about the needs and preferences of users. The same can be said for schools, which can build a very useful and potentially lucrative picture of their learners' marks, habits, performances through this big data analysis. Today, big data goes far beyond A's, B's, and C's kept in a gradebook, involving information like learners' backgrounds, performance, behavior, and even emotional learning across schools, districts, and provinces. Big data is becoming a transformative tool in all aspects of education. While big data is an integral part of some schools, it is still new to many others, which are traditionally slow to adopt to new technologies. Each school collects its own big data at the moment, but this could be a potential to create a powerful public educational data infrastructure, a big data for schools, if we only work together.
Why do teachers, knowledge workers, policymakers, educational specialists, instructional designers need a data literacy, and how do we build their capacity in this area?
Many of us learn to count, read, and write numbers before we mastered the complexities of the alphabet and the written word. We are flooded with facts and figures every day, but how well do we understand the meaning behind all those numbers? The ability to derive meaningful information from data is called data literacy. On the surface, data literacy is important because it allows us to understand numbers, charts, and graphs created by others. However, just because data is presented in a pretty chart, it doesn't automatically mean that it's easy to understand or that it should be trusted. Understanding where the data came from, how it was collected, and how it was analyzed and visualized are all essential elements of data literacy. Data literacy skills encompass the ability to clean and prepare data for analysis, all the while casting a critical eye on the outcomes. Promoting data literacy in education starts with culture. Schools need to establish data-first cultures that encourage the use of data with strong support for the use of facts in decision-making and a culture that celebrates curiosity and critical thinking. Creating this type of culture requires a combination of the right technology and the right people. This journey will be uncomfortable at times, but one we need to embrace. Most humans will oppose this change, but one thing is clear, it needs to start from the top. Leadership teams need to believe in it, promote it, and live by it. With data everywhere, data literacy is a new language, and we all need to be fluent in it.
Many teachers don't feel engaged or listened to when it comes to decisions that affect their classrooms. How can we as policymakers change that?
As a teacher, if more than half of your learners aren't paying attention, then you aren't doing your job correctly. So much more for decision makers in education. If teachers don't listen to you, then you aren't doing your job correctly. A report called Listen to Us, Teachers' Views and Voices, released by the Center of Education Policy, finds that many teachers are frustrated over changing policies, assessment, and a lack of voice in decision making. Teachers that reported that they felt heard had input in decision-making in their schools and reported to be happy at their jobs. Teachers are the ones being hit hard during each educational reform. They are often used as the scapegoats who must take responsibility for failing systems. Principals and other administrators respond to the pressures from above by applying the pressure on their teachers or force implementation of initiatives developed far away from the classroom. Teachers are not policymakers, but possess the skills and knowledge to be involved in policy making. As a result, policymakers may miss these promising opportunities to improve teaching and learning based on the teacher's experiences, insights, and wisdoms of practice. The involvement of teachers in policy making could be limited because of their involvement in teaching and school processes during the year. This can be overcome by using modern technologies to communicate and report, investing in improving 21st century skills for communication and collaboration, teaching participation in seminars and workshops, availability of public commenting. It will be to the advantage of the education system to enhance teachers' voices in policy making.
Now, who do you want to give a shout out to that made all the difference to your journey in succeeding this module?
Firstly, Vilma Isaacs. Although she's completed this coursework, she's constantly checked up on me, concerned that I'm coping. What a considerate person. My friend Tanya de Toy for the emotional support, the one that would tell me that I need more hours of sleep and my answer being, I'll sleep later. There aren't enough words to describe how grateful I am. My two colleagues at work that know how much I hate writing essays would not believe I wrote a textbook, and they would ask me every morning, how many words did you write last night when they saw me? My family needs a special shout out for listening to my constant whining about the unclear tasks and how it takes me a week every time to just understand what I'm supposed to do before I can even start, and waiting in anticipation for my marks, too afraid to ask, not knowing on what emotional roller coaster I would be. To all that participated in designing this course, it's a great learning experience. I've gained so much knowledge and learned so many new skills. Great job.